What's up, everybody? We're on a podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I really quickly want to take a look at Dispatch's sales. Now, I think the number one thing to talk about is actually kind of just the comedic charm that, well, not only the game has it, but I like that they're leaning into it as well, because the tweet, when I read things, right, there's kind of like that split second, the very first second you look at the words, you kind of just believe it, right, until you put like any form of thought behind it. So, the tweet literally reads, 2 days, 80 million copies sold would have been nice. We sold 1 million in 10 days, though. Still pretty good. And then you see the picture. Dispatch sells over 1 million copies. So, number one, it's not like I believe that they literally, okay, I don't want to come across like I'm that much of a moron. I don't think anybody could actually sell, GTA 6 will not even sell 80 million in 2 days. So, that was kind of crazy. But I was trying to read through it and thinking, oh, maybe 2 days, 8 million. Maybe you kind of just erase the zero. Maybe they messed that up. So, I would say this, right? 1 million copies. I think probably for their expectations, that is extremely good. I know everybody right now is talking about, sequel. They need to announce a sequel. Well, I think Dom the Bomb actually had pointed out on Twitter, like they have already talked a couple months ago. I think Critical Role talked about like what they're doing next, the studio behind Dispatch. And I think they're doing a D&D game. Like it's literally like cemented, like that's their next thing. So Dispatch 2, like yes, they can probably confirm it's happening at some point, and I'll be rooting for that. We'll talk about and cover it. But it's not going to be literally the next thing that they do from their studio. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing to say. Second thing, like I said, I think if you're coming into this thing, the expectations to sell 1 million, I feel like you would probably put it below that, right? You probably don't think it's going to sell 1 million, just because you probably don't know how episodic. We've kind of talked about it before, right? Like, do you even put these games out episodically? Like, do people like that? Is there a market for it? We've talked about that in videos. And so keep in mind, everything I just said as I'm about to say this next thing. I actually kind of thought they would sell more. I'll tell you why. You look at this thing on social media and it has exploded. Now, and I don't want to make it too much about like social media and like streaming culture, but this is weird, okay? So take it with a grain of salt. I almost wonder if all the streaming is maybe hurting the game a little bit because, okay, again, stay with me here. 1 million copies, I think that's great. I think you tell them that they're going to do 1 million copies 2 weeks before the game comes out. I think they're quite happy. Again, just because of expectations. But there's videos of 2-minute clips, right? Decisions between Invisigal and Blonde Blazer, right? Like all of these small little things. And, well, small, like they're only 2-3 minutes long, right? They're really not long. And they got like 15 million views. You got the Jacksepticeye's of the world who are, in the game. And I've talked about that before, like, well, maybe that helps them, right? But you have all these people streaming it, and it's getting millions upon millions upon millions. But I'll tell you, I've seen, like I said, videos of, choosing this thing over this thing, kind of the classic. And you've gotten those before with Telltale games and whatnot. People will just upload, okay, well, here's the choices between the two things. And it's a 4-minute clip and it gets God knows how many views. Again, I've seen these things get tens of millions of views. So I guess that's kind of the thing where it's like you look at that and you say, okay, is that like selling 1 million after the thing does unreal numbers on social media? Is that a good thing? I will say, I think I turn that around to look at kind of the streaming culture and say, because it's choice-based, because it's episodic, I actually do feel it may be, and it's tough, right? You say, well, it would sell more if not so many people, are kind of, I would say, consuming it through watching. But at the same time, are the people that are watching, would they ever have done it in the first place, right? And that's a question I think you have to ask yourself for any game, a game that has high viewership streaming-wise, but it sells well or it doesn't sell well. I think the first question you probably ask is, like, would that game, are the people watching, would they buy it anyway? And in some cases they would, in some cases they wouldn't. So that's just something I kind of wanted to throw in there because it is interesting. This game, I feel like, has blown up and in some ways bigger than others. Like the sales are definitely good and definitely big, but I just feel it's blown up on social media 10 times, what I thought it was capable of. And it really feels like that part hasn't led to, selling 5 million copies, like these streamers that are, or Jacksepticeye, like you're streaming it to millions of people and the game has only sold, say, 1 million, maybe 1.25 million. So also like how many people that were actually watching these people went on to buy it. Not as many as you might think for the numbers being as big as they are. So we'll see. Like I said, I think this game's got legs, and I think that's kind of cool about it is that every week, and you see it on Steam and stuff, the game is not really dropping. The game is consistently top 2, top 3. So every week it's still selling well. You still got this week, you still got next week, and then you kind of have just, later on sales. I think this game is going to do quite well. I would not be shocked if it got 2+ million, which I think for a size of a game like this would be extremely good. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.